Now it's my pleasure to turn to our second keynote speaker, Mrs. Bibi Amina Gurib-Fakim. She is former president of Mauritius and a renowned biodiversity scientist. Prior to joining the State House, Mrs. Gurib-Fakim has been the managing director of le Centre d'International de Développement Pharmaceutique, Research and Innovation, as well as professor of organic chemistry with an endowed chair at the University of Mauritius. Madame Gurib-Fakim, vous avez la parole. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madame DDG. It's a great pleasure to see you again. Excellencies, distinguished participants, fellow scientists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I would like upfront to thank the Director General of the FAO, Honorable Chu Dong-yu, for associating me with this very important event. Ladies and gentlemen, June 2021 marked the launch of UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. As a human race, we must spare no effort to make this decade on ecosystem restoration a success, because preserving nature and maintaining its services are critical for our survival on this planet and for our economies. Unfortunately, the World Bank is already forecasting that in sub-Saharan Africa, the collapse of ecosystem services will imply the contraction of GDP by 9.7% annually by 2030. This unfortunate statement dovetails with what Professor Das Gupta has said in his seminal work on the economics of biodiversity, and I quote, "Humanity now faces a choice. We can continue down a path where our demands on nature far exceed its capacity to meet them on a sustainable basis, or we can take a different path, one where our engagements with nature are not only sustainable, but also enhance our collective well-being and that of our descendants," unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, how did we get there? At the heart of the problem lies deep-rooted, widespread institutional failure. Every single year, we lose ecosystem services worth more than 10% of our global economic output. As we speak, 1/3 of the world's farmland is degraded, and about 87% of inland wetlands worldwide have disappeared since the 1700s, and 1/3 of commercial fish species are overexploited, and 1 million species are threatened with extinction. Degradation is already affecting the well-being of an estimated 3.2 billion people, that is 40% of the world's population. Ecosystem restoration is needed on a large scale as it delivers on multiple benefits and help us deliver on the Sustainable Development Agenda. Restoration also curbs the risk of mass species extinctions and future pandemics. To begin with, ladies and gentlemen, we need to start with the restoration of forest landscapes, farming, livestock, and fish-producing ecosystem, and bring them to a healthy and stable state. Reviving ecosystems and other natural solutions could contribute over 1/3 of the total climate mitigation needed by 2030. For this effort to be sustained on a global scale, institutions require sustained investment, as there is growing evidence that it is more than pays for itself. Policymakers and financial institutions are only slowly realizing the huge need and potential for green investment. Countries like Costa Rica have seen ecotourism grow to account for 6% of GDP by doubling its forest cover. By 2030, Mesoamerica and Indonesia could add $2.5 billion to their economy simply by restoring coral reefs. A restored population of marine fish can deliver a maximum sustainable yield that could increase fisheries production by 16.5 million tons, an annual value of $32 billion. agroforestry revival alone could increase food security for 1.3 billion people. Ladies and gentlemen, actions that prevent, halt, and reverse degradation are needed if we are to keep global temperature below 2 degrees centigrade. This could involve action to better manage some 2.5 billion hectares of forest, crop and grazing land through restoration and avoiding degradation, and restoration of natural cover over 230 million hectares. Large-scale investments in dryland agriculture, mangrove protection, water management will make a vital contribution to building resilience to climate change, generating benefits around 4 times the original investment. With careful planning, restoring 15% of converted lands while stopping further conversion of natural ecosystems could avoid 60% of expected species extinctions. Achieving successful ecosystem restoration at scale will require deep changes, including the adoption of inclusive wealth as a more accurate measure of economic progress. This will rest on the widespread introduction of natural capital, accounting thus creating an enabling environment for private sector investment, including public-private partnership. Progress can be made by increasing finance for restoration, including the elimination of perverse subsidies that incentivize further degradation and fuel climate change. Such initiatives must be accompanied by raising awareness on the risk posed by ecosystem degradation. Transformation will happen when we start reforming agriculture, by changing how we build our cities, by decarbonizing our economies, and by moving to circular economic models. Degradation is undermining our hard-won development gains and is threatening the well-being of today's youth and future generations, while making national commitments increasingly more difficult and costly to reach. None of the agreed global goals for the protection of life on Earth and for halting the degradation of land and ocean have been fully met. UNEP reports 2021 reports that 6 out of the 28 biodiversity targets have been partially achieved. Ecosystem restoration alone cannot solve the crisis we face, but it is key to avoiding the worst of them. It is becoming clearer and clearer that we have to recreate a balanced relationship with nature, not only by conserving ecosystems that are still healthy, but also by urgently and sustainably restoring degraded ones. For too long, ladies and gentlemen, we have been using the planet as a sink for our waste products, such as carbon dioxide, plastics, and other forms of waste, including pollution. We need to change how we think, act, and measure success, as transformative change is possible, because we and our descendants deserve nothing less. I thank you for your attention.